from the Big 12. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our meet here this afternoon. I'm Ken Garland, along with former gymnast Rachel Perry, and we're getting ready for a meet that we think is going to be a very interesting and promising one between two teams, really, that are a little different in terms of success so far this season, in terms of tradition, but still both teams with a lot of talent. And as far as the Bowling Green State University Falcons, the host team, are concerned, they are from the Mid-Atlantic Conference, or excuse me, Mid-American Conference, and they come in with a record of no wins and 4 losses. For the University of Denver, well, this is a team basically that is undefeated so far, 4-0 on the season, and a team that is appearing very strong as the season just begins, but a team that has also made 17 consecutive trips to the NCAA Regionals, a pretty good mark.
Yeah.
All right, well, as we get ready, what we want to do is explain to you that as far as gymnastics is concerned, the way it works is that both teams will be competing in 4 different events here today. Now, they will alternate, each team performing in a different event as we get started. And for our first actual event, it's going to be Denver competing in the uneven bars. And as we take a look at their lineup, there's a number of players, or a number of athletes, I should say, in this lineup that performed very strong in this particular event. I would draw your attention probably to Katie Manhenik, the second one on the list there. She actually had a 9.825 score a week ago in Denver's meet against Washington. But keep in mind that all of those athletes had a 9.8 or better score in that very same meet, and that is difficult to do.
Yeah, considering the best score for an event is a 50, so, and like best individual score is a 10, so 9.8 is pretty high.
For the Bowling Green Falcons, they will open with the vault competition here. And again, I would draw your attention to Alyssa Nocello there, third from the bottom on your list, a 9.65. She finished third in this event a week ago for UAA in their meet here in Bowling Green against the University of Alaska Anchorage. Also, Lauren Feely, 9.80 a week ago. So again, some very good scores. For a little bit more information on the coaches of these two teams, let's join the third member of our team, and that is Michael Webster.
Denver coach Melissa Kutcher-Reinhardt is in her 17th season with a record of 308, 150, and 3. She's made 3 NCAA national appearances, and she competed in the all-around event at the University of Florida. BDSU coach Kerry Turner is in her 9th year as head coach with a record of 41 and 81 and a MAC record of 19 and 29. And is a MAC head coach. Was a MAC head coach of the year in 2013. And under her leadership, there have been 25 Scholastics All-Americans, showing her commitment to developing All-American athletes and All-American students. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Michael. The University of Denver Pioneers from the Big 12 against the Bowling Green State University Falcons from the MAC. Women's gymnastics action coming up next on ESPN3. And we are just about ready for the start of today's meet, once again between the University of Denver and the Bowling Green State University Falcons, here from the Stroh Center on the campus of Bowling Green State University. And actually, Rachel, this is a little bit of athletic history in the making here today, as this is the very first gymnastics event that has ever been held, or gymnastics meet, that has ever been held in the Stroh Center. The Stroh Center opening back in 2011. And, of course, as you well know, the gymnastics team usually performing at another building on campus.
Yeah, usually it's in Anderson Arena, so it's exciting that we get to have it in the Stroh, and there's like bigger opportunity to draw more fans.
Well, it definitely will increase the fan base. At least that's part of the hope. And you have to remember, too, for those who don't know, that really that the Stroh Center is kind of the hub, I guess, of activities on the BGSU campus when you think about it. Obviously, there are other athletic sports here, men's and women's basketball. Concerts take place here. Graduation, the commencement, takes place here. So this is where it all happens. And today it's gymnastics. And once again, the Bowling Green State Falcons, they will be starting with the vault competition. And there is the lineup that we will have, starting with Lauren Domino. And again, once that competition is completed, then it will be the University of Denver's turn as they will compete on the uneven bars. And once again, there is the starting lineup for the Pioneers. Now, I did want to correct one thing. And we had indicated earlier, Rachel, that all of those athletes had scored at least a 9.8 on the uneven bars in their last meet last week on Saturday. But that was not true. We meant to say that they had a 9.8 on the vault. All of the athletes had a 9.8 on the vault, not on the uneven bars.
Okay.
So here we go. The vault competition then beginning for BGSU. And a nice strong finish there. Very well done. We did want to point out, you can see the excitement, but we did want to point out that the vault had really been a little bit of an issue so far this season for the Bowling Green State Falcons. But Laura Domino right there with a very nice routine.
Strong start. Yeah, I know they had a couple injuries, so they were looking to fill spots in the lineup. So it looks like they stepped it up this week. So that's a good start for the vault lineup on BG.
Well, we were told that what they wanted to do with the vault routines is put in a little more twist and to improve the landings.
Right. She took a step on the landing, but it was still a pretty solid vault for her.
All right, so now we'll go over to the bars, and this is Claire Kern for the University of Denver. Again, a small private school, the University of Denver, but one that has a rich tradition in gymnastics. 17 consecutive trips to the NCAA regionals. And a nice finish there. So Lauren Domino with a 9.650, her score on the vault, and we will wait for the next score from the bars. But in the meantime, we move back to the vault for Bowling Green State University. One of the things that the Falcons wanted to do was they wanted to bring a meet atmosphere into their practices this past week. And that's why you see a lot of the excitement. And the finish.
It's a little step to the side there on the landing. So she'll get deducted for that, but it was still a decent vault.
But again, that meet atmosphere that we were talking about is something that obviously takes place only during that meet, not necessarily in practice. It's a little different sometimes for this team when it's practicing during the course of the week.
Yeah, we try to bring the meet atmosphere into practice because when you're in a meet, there's like so much adrenaline and nerves and excitement. So the more you can practice with all that energy, then like you'll be more consistent in the meet.
Okay, back to the uneven bars now for the University of Denver. Claire Kern was the first competitor. She was scored at a 9.750 on the first routine.
So something that the judges really look for on bars is the cast handstands. They want to make sure that every time you get to handstand, it's at an actual handstand. So if it's short, that'll be a deduction. And then, again, the stuck landings.
This is Katie Mahenik. She had a 9.825 last week in their meet against Washington. Nice strong finish.
Stuck dismount. Katie Mooresfield.
All right, here's Katie Mooresfield as we return to the vault action.
Just a couple steps there on the landing, but she had some height coming off the vault.
So as Katie finishes her routine, we can tell you that Shannon Ganawicha, who competed earlier, finished her scoring was a 9.525 on the vault. And now Katie Mahenik, who had just completed the bars for Denver, she was scored at a 9.800. And that'll bring up Nicole Addison. So some good scores here in the early going. Now we do have 2 judges who are doing the scoring. And maybe I'll let you explain a little bit about how scoring is done.
So they'll do the routine, and then each judge, they'll score the routine on their own, and then they'll take the average of the 2 judges' scores, and then that'll give you the final score.
Okay, Nicole Addison on the bars here for the University of Denver. Well, we should say Denver University. And the dismount.
So she missed a couple handstands, but she had a really strong release move in there, and then a stuck landing on the dismount. Something that the judges are looking for.
And again, Katie Morsfield. Katie Morsfield with a 9.7 on her vault score. Now as we come back to the vault action. This is Alyssa Norchella.
Really solid landing on that vault, so hopefully get a high score from Alyssa there.
Alyssa Norchella, Alyssa Norchella last week in the vault, a 9.65. And that again against the University of Alaska Anchorage. Now Nicole Addison on the uneven bars, her score 9.750. So her routine completed, and now it is Diana Chesnick. She's a freshman from Charlotte, North Carolina.
So it was a really clean routine. She had hit all of her handstands and caught her releases and good dismount, so should be expecting a high score from her on bars.
So Diana Chesnock, who actually made her college debut on the vault and the bars back on January the 9th, completes a nice routine. And we move back now to the vault for BGSU.
So it was another stuck landing from BG on vault, so hopefully keep building with that vault score.
Again, that was Victoria Heath. Alyssa Norcello, her score 9.750. She was the previous athlete on the vault. And that again was Victoria Heath, who just completed her routine. For Denver University, Nina McGee. Now this is a name you're going to be hearing a lot of. This young lady ranks very high nationally in multiple events. Matter of fact, number 2 in the floor exercise, number 8 in the all-around. So she is near the top of many different events, again ranked nationally. And this team, this University of Denver team, also ranked nationally at number 14 coming in today. And the dismount, Nina McGee. She liked it.
Yep, it was a solid routine.
For BGSU, we move back to the vault, and this will be Victoria Heath. Or excuse me, Lauren Feely. Yeah, Lauren Feely. We wanted to give you the score, actually, for Victoria Heath. Victoria Heath, the previous competitor, at 9.775. And that was Laura Feely. Lauren completing her routine. Julia Ross is next for Denver University. Nina McGee, we said she liked her routine, and here's why.
9.9.
Scored a 9.9, yep. Actually, again, seeing scores near a perfect 10 for McGee, not unusual. She had scored a 10, a perfect 10 on the floor in the first meet of the season back on January the 9th. So she hit the mark that day and almost hit it here on the uneven bars. So Lauren Feely, 9.80. And we move back to the uneven bars for our final competitor again, Julia Ross. Ross, a junior from Henderson, Nevada. Her career high on the bars is 9.875. And that was just a couple of weeks ago, back on the 18th of January at Iowa.
She had a pretty solid routine. It was really clean, just a little hop on the dismount, but other than that, good routine.
So that will complete this round as Julia Ross finishes. Lauren Feely on the vault for BGSU, a 9.800. And we will wait for the scoring for Julia Ross. So as we look at the team score, again, we show Bowling Green State University trailing Denver. Denver with 49.025 for a team score. Bowling Green 48.675.
You know, Denver had some really clean bar routines, and some pretty high scores, so their scores are going to be higher. But vault, they did make a lot of improvements compared to last week. I know their vault score is about 5/10 higher than last week, so they made some improvements there.
And Julia Ross finishes with a 9.750. 9.750 for Julia Ross in the uneven bars. Now, I said team scores, but again, those scores that I gave for the vault, BG at 48.675, and then for the uneven bars for Denver, 49.025. They are the team scores as of right now, but those, of course, will change as the other events are added. All right, we're looking at an exhibition at this point. And, again, exhibition is just a little different from the actual competition.
Yeah, exhibition is just a chance for the gymnasts to get some practice in a competition setting so they can kind of get a feeling for how it is to compete in front of a crowd. And their score doesn't actually count, but eventually they can, like, work their way into the actual lineup.
All right, more action as we continue with women's gymnastics here from the Stroh Center, and we will continue right after this on ESPN3. The first events of our meet completed here this afternoon. The bars for Denver University, the vault for Bowling Green State University, and standing by is the head coach of the Bowling Green State University Falcons, Carrie Turner. She is with Michael Webster.
I'm here with BGSU head coach Carrie Turner. Carrie, you talked a little about your excitement for today. This day is the first day that your team will be competing at the Stroh Center today.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be here at the Stroh Center, preparing for next season MAC Championship that we'll be hosting here in March of 2017. This really gives us a great opportunity to see what this facility is capable of, and it's just been awesome for our athletes and our fans.
Can you talk a little bit about some of your goals for this season for your team?
Yeah, we are really focused this season on going for that MAC win at the MAC Championship in March, but even more than that, really trying to get to the NCAA postseason as a team. We've had several individual qualifiers, but we are ready to get there as a whole team.
All right, back to you guys.
Well, we would think that certainly Coach Coach Carrie Turner, she's got to be pleased with the vault because, again, we talked about the vault as being a little bit of an issue for this team, for this BGSU team. 48.675, I think a very strong showing. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, they improved a lot compared to last week, and I know they were focusing a lot this week on stuck landings, and I think about 3 of them, so half the lineup had stuck landings, so that was a big improvement for them.
Our next event's coming up, but first, we'll send it away. You're watching NCAA Women's Gymnastics on ESPN3. So we are ready for our second rotation of the day, and the two teams just sort of switching events right now as Bowling Green State University will move to the bars and the University of Denver over to the vault. And again, as we mentioned, the vault, a very strong event for Denver. Again, it was just a week ago, back on January the 23rd, that all 6 of the Denver routines scored a 9.800 or higher in the vault. So we should see, we would at least expect to see some very good performances.
Yeah.
Well, one thing these two teams do have in common is they both are having a little bit of an injury problem. Now, Denver University does not have Maggie Laughlin available today. She's expected to return very soon. She missed last week's meet, and she's missing today's. But again, she will be back. But they also have 2 athletes who are out for the season, Leah Lamont and Rachel Felix. We were not told exactly why, what their injury might be, but again, they have been lost for the season. For the BGSU Falcons, well, they too have 2 athletes who have been lost for the season, Julia Beyer and Leslie Delgado. Both of those girls actually ended up tearing their ACL. 2 ACL tears within the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I know Leslie, this is her first semester at BG, so pretty recent. And I know she was in probably like 3 lineups for the Falcons, so they were working to fill her spot in those lineups.
Yeah, both of the girls actually competed in 3 different events. So
yeah.
some of the younger girls now have to really step up here.
Right.
They're going to get experience that they might not have expected quite this soon.
Yeah, but it'll be good experience, though, for them because you never know when another injury will happen.
So again, it's going to be Denver on the vault and BG on the bars. And we actually did have our first competitor, Grace Broadhurst, on the vault, as you're looking at the bars right now. But Broadhurst finishing with a 9.70. So very good performance again on the vault. Oh, I beg your pardon. That actually was that the exhibition score?
Yeah, that wasn't even bars.
The 9.7 was an exhibition score. So Grace Broadhurst, again, you may remember we had the exhibition right before the break. So let's pick up the action then on the bars. Again, Bowling Green State University.
So Shannon had a little bit of a rough start. She missed the bar on her release move, but finished the routine there. A little step on the dismount. So hopefully they can pick it back up for the rest of the lineup on bars so they won't have to count a fall. So
Shannon Ganawicha finishes on bars for BG, and we will move over to the vault. And this is Emily Barrett. No, Emily Barrett actually, this must be, this is Caitlin Shu. As Emily Barrett scored a 9.75 on the first event. So 9.75 for Emily Barrett. That's your first score for the vault for Denver. And we just saw Caitlin Shu. And now our second competitor for the BGSU Falcons on the bars. This is Laura Mitchell.
So right now they're hoping for clean routines for the rest of the lineup because they only count 5 of the best scores, and since the first one missed their routine, we want the rest of the 5 to hit there so they can count some solid scores for the bar score.
Lauren Mitchell, the sophomore from London, England, who finished second a week ago on the uneven bars. As she begins her routine, actually one of 3 international athletes on this BGSU team.
So we had another rough start there for Laura, but hopefully she can pick it up and have a clean routine.
You see the assistant coach, that's Jason Bauer. He does a lot of work with the girls as far as the bars are concerned. He used to be a gymnastics club owner, I should say, for 10 years. And he got into college coaching. So Laura Mitchell with a very nice dismount.
Yeah, she had a strong finish. She hit the rest of her handstands and caught her release move and then stuck the dismount. So good finish routine for her.
Denver University, and this is Diana Chestnut. Again, Caitlin Shu finishing 9.70 on the vault, and now Chestnut. I would think that that height becomes very important. Am I right in terms of?
So you want to be able to push off the vault table and get some height for the twist and the flip, so that you can have time to prepare for the landing. Because the stuck landing is really important in college gymnastics, because it's the last thing that the judges see.
Rachel Rice is up next for Bowling Green State University. Laura Mitchell scoring an 8.90. 8.90 on her performance on the uneven bars. And the bars' strength and timing, I would assume, become very important here.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wait for the bars to get your handstands right and the release moves. So if you're just a little bit off, then you could miss that release move.
And that was a release move right there that we just saw.
But so far, a pretty strong routine from Rachel with clean handstands. And a stuck dismount.
Oh, the coaches, again, very pleased with that. And Diana Chestnut, 9.725 her score. That, of course, on the beam for Denver University. And now next up is Julia Ross.
Just a little step on the landing there, but still a pretty solid vault. She got off the vault table pretty good.
We'll take another look at it here. Julia Ross, the junior, as we mentioned, from Nevada. Here's Lauren Feely after Rachel Rice finished with a 9.80. So a strong performance for her on the bars. And now Feely. Lauren Feely with a 4.0 grade point average. So she does find time for the studies outside of the gym.
Yeah, I think she was recently MAC Scholar Athlete of the Week.
And also MAC Freshman of the Year back in 2014. So she's got a couple of impressive titles that she has earned. And another impressive performance here.
Yeah, really strong routine. She had nice handstands and got the release move and a good dismount.
So Julia Ross, 9.750 for Denver on the vault. And that will bring up Nicole Addison.
And stuck landing.
Beautiful landing and a nice flip. She was the Freshman of the Year for Denver University last year. So Nicole Addison with a nice performance. And we return now to the bars, the uneven bars for the Bowling Green State University Falcons. Alyssa Nocello following Lauren Feely, and Feely with a 9.85. A 9.85 for Lauren Feely. So here's Nocello. Alyssa, last week, doing a very nice job, finishing first in the bars with a 9.8 in that meet against Anchorage.
A really clean routine today, too. Stuck landing on the dismount, good release moves, hit the handstands.
So Nicole Addison, 9.800 her final score as we take a look at that dismount. Nicely done by Nocello. So Addison 9.800 in the vault for Denver, and now here's Nina McGee.
Really nice vault. She's got a lot of power coming off the vault table, and a good stuck landing there.
Number 12 overall in the vault with a 9.875 average. She again ranks near the top in those individual rankings that we alluded to earlier. So Alyssa Nocello for the Falcons with a 9.875, her final score in the vault, or excuse me, on the uneven bars. And that'll bring up Caroline Henningboe. And Nina McGee, who we just saw, finishes with a 9.850. 9.850 the score for McGee on the vault, and that will complete the round for Denver.
And a good routine so far for Caroline. She's a really powerful on the bars. We're hoping for a clean dismount.
Henningboe, 9.825, her best score of the season on the bars. We'll see how she fares. We're getting 9.825 coming against, well, actually Western Michigan and Eastern Michigan in a meet that they had about 2 weeks ago back on the 17th. So we'll see if she beats that or comes close to it. Now an exhibition again. So we await the score for Caroline Henningboe. And again, that will complete our second rotation here of the afternoon. And Caroline finishes with a 9.850. 9.850 for Henningboe. And as we look at the scores for those events, first of all for Denver, on the vault, 48.875. BG on the bars, 48.275. And we'll be back with more women's gymnastics action from the Stroh Center on the campus of Bowling Green State University right after this on ESPN3. So the bars and the vault events both completed here in this meet between the Bowling Green University Falcons and the Denver University Pioneers. And there you can see our total running score so far. A very good match with still 2 more events to take place. And right now we want to rejoin Michael Webster, who is standing by with one of the BGSU assistant coaches, Marie Case. Michael?
I'm here with assistant coach Maria Case for BG. Marie, you want to talk a little bit about your expectations for today's meet?
Well, for today, we just want to go out, show our best, absolutely show our best, do what we've been doing in practice. For floor specifically, I want to go out. We need to be hitting 6 routines, start off with a great routine, and just keep up the momentum that we've been doing throughout the meet.
Thanks. Back to you guys.
Well, a former gymnast turned coach, Marie Case, and a former gymnast who became a coach for that other team, that opposing team, that rivalry team.
Yeah, came from Kent State.
Yeah, she coached at Kent State. She was for 1 year, did Marie, and then she was a great performer there as well. A MAC Freshman of the Year back in 2011, and a MAC Gymnast of the Year in both her junior and senior years. So Marie Case joining the staff of the Falcons, and we will continue with some floor exercise and more right after this. You're watching Women's Gymnastics on ESPN3. We are halfway through our gymnastics meet here at the Stroh Center, the first ever gymnastics meet held at the Stroh. Good crowd on hand, as again I think you can tell that a strong following is starting to develop for this sport. So we move now to the beam and to the floor, as it'll be BGSU performing on the beam and Denver on the floor, and there is the lineup that you will see. And again, keep your eye on Nina McGee, again the leader in so many categories for this team. And for BG, as we said, they will be on the beam. We'll get our first look at the beam event here, starting with Laura Feely and Laura Mitchell will wrap it up. So you've got really the 2 strongest athletes, Mitchell for BG and McGee for Denver, who will be finishing. Quite the success story for Denver. We were talking about it, as it's a school that is a private university. And here's something that I found kind of surprising. This is a university that does not have a football team.
Really?
How about that? So they've really, really developed the gymnastics program, and it has taken off. And again, the success that they have had under Coach Melissa Kutcher-Reinhardt, with those 17 consecutive appearances to the NCAA regionals, as well as 3 trips to the NCAA nationals. So here we are. Lauren Feely. Now this event takes so much concentration, doesn't it?
Yeah, concentration and consistency and confidence. Because any little wobble, the judges can deduct for that. So you have to be right on every time. But she's got a pretty clean routine going so far.
What normally is included in a routine? Obviously, there's a flip.
So you're going to have like a flight series where they'll have to connect a series, so it'll have like at least 2 elements where they flip. And then you'll have like a front side skill where they can either do like a front handspring or a front aerial or a side aerial. And then there's going to be some kind of leap pass and a jump, and then a full turn and a dismount.
So we shift our attention to Claire Turn and our first look at the floor exercise today. Now, we were talking about the floor event a little bit earlier, and this is really a very individualized, even more individualized event in the sense that you can really incorporate your own personality as well as your own talents.
Right. You can pick your own floor music, and some gymnasts even choreograph their own routines to really fit their personality, because floor is more of a performance event. So you want to show off your personality while keeping the judges and the crowd entertained.
What is the average length of the floor?
It's about a minute 25 to a minute 30 seconds.
So you don't have a lot of time, really.
No. So you'll usually have 3 tumbling passes, an elite pass, and a turn.
So there's the finish.
Strong floor routine with clean passes and duck landings on those. So probably expecting a high score from her on floor.
That was Katie Mahenik, a senior from New Jersey. And her best floor score is 9.875. She actually accomplished that twice last year. Jordan Ray on the beam for the Falcons. She's following Lauren Feely. Feely had a 9.675. 9.675 for Lauren Feely. And we'll wait for the score for Katie Mahenik on her floor exercise. So Jordan Ray, who's overcoming an injury. We were talking about the injuries that both of these teams are suffering. But Ray, a sophomore, she tore her Achilles. And she did so competing for New Zealand in the World University Games over the summer.
Yeah, she actually made a really fast recovery for such a serious injury.
Well, she had the surgery. She was only out 7 months. Very quick healer, obviously.
Yeah, she's really determined to get back in this season and compete.
And she is one of those international athletes that we told you about on the BGSU squad. Again, being from New Zealand. Shows you how much, well, how little room you really have to work with on that beam.
Had a couple of wobbles at the beginning of the routine, but had a clean finish. A little step there on the dismount.
So again, that Jordan Ray, the sophomore. And here's Emily Barrett. Emily following Katie Mahenik. And Mahenik finished with a 9.775 in her floor routine. Her best score on the floor last year, 9.8.
She's had some pretty solid tumbling passes, so hopefully a strong pass for the last one to give her a good score.
Emily's a senior. She comes from Norman, Oklahoma. Got to wonder why she didn't attend Oklahoma University right there in Norman, her hometown.
Sometimes you just want to get away.
You just want to get away and enjoy the beauty of the mountains in Denver, right? So Emily Barrett.
With a solid performance there. Good last pass. So expecting a high score for her too.
As she completes the floor, we will shift back to the beam, and it'll be Rachel Rice, who we will see for Bowling Green State University. Rice following Jordan Ray. Jordan Ray finishing with a 9.550. So a good score for Jordan Ray on the beam. I'm going to put you on the spot here. We had that shot earlier, just like this one, that shows how narrow that beam really is. Do you know how wide it is?
It's about 4 inches.
I guess I didn't put you on the spot at all. You had that information right away.
Yep. So she's had a couple wobbles in her routine so far, so hoping to be a little more confident for the rest of the routine. They're going to be wanting to look for some higher scores after the first two so they can build a higher beam score when everybody's done with their routines.
Rachel Rice plans to become a physical therapist. It kind of goes right along with gymnastics.
There's a lot of gymnasts on the team that are doing exercise science and looking to be physical therapists. I know that Alyssa Nichella is wanting to do physical therapy too.
So Rachel Rice with her finish. And some of these girls...
dismount?
Yeah, very nicely done. Some of these girls don't just stay with gymnastics. I know some of them cross over. We see some of them on the swim team. We've seen some of them on the basketball team. They're all-around athletes.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, it's hard to do more than just gymnastics because you're already practicing like 20 hours a week. But I know some of them have switched over to other sports.
You're watching Caitlin Shu from Denver University. Shu following Emily Barrett. Barrett with a 9.775 on her floor performance. So both Emily Barrett and Katie Menhenik with identical scores for the first two athletes. Now Caitlin Shu. Her best floor score, 9.775. That's the highest in her career. And it happened just a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, back on the 18th of this month in a meet at Iowa.
She's looking pretty solid so far. Just waiting for that last pass. But the Denver team seems to be pretty consistent on floor.
Again, a freshman, and she made her college debut on the floor on January the 9th, first meet of the season. That was against West Virginia and Southern Utah. So this is her season. She's getting pressed into action and responding very well. Her time has come.
Yeah. And she had a really good routine, so probably a high score for her.
So we'll see how Caitlin scores. Now we go back to the beam, to the balance beam, and head coach Carrie Turner of BGSU wishing good luck to Caroline Ellingall. Rachel Rice, Rachel Rice, 9.625. She, of course, the previous competitor for the Falcons. So Rice again at 9.625 as we watch Ellingall.
So it's a solid series for Caroline. No wobble there. PG's going to be wanting to have some really clean routines for the rest of the lineup so they can build their score. You typically want at least like 9.7s, 9.8s, so that way you can have a higher team score.
Ellingall is an interesting member of this team. She was a walk-on who earned a scholarship. And Coach Turner really is going to miss this girl. She admits that. She says it's going to be hard to go on without her because she's in her senior year. But since she's been here, she's been very committed to what the program is doing. And there's been a lot of building in this program over the last few years. And she's bought right into it, contributed to the success that the Falcons have had in terms of raising those scores. And she'll be gone after this season, after this semester, and will sorely be missed. But I understand they don't talk about that. They don't mention graduation. They don't mention the end of the career because that only causes tears.
Right. Don't talk about it till it's over.
Exactly. So the nice dismount there. Claire Hammond now up next as she follows Caitlin Shue, and Shue finished with a 9.825, the highest score yet so far on the floor for Denver. As Hammond takes over.
And I think that's her new record for floor, too.
You are correct, yes, because we said it was 9.80. It's now 9.825 as of this afternoon. So she set a career high twice in the last 2 weeks. Last 3 weeks. So Caitlin Shue making improvement week after week.
Really good routine going for Claire. Some solid tumbling passes, and she looks happy with that routine there.
And you saw one of the assistant coaches there. I'm not quite sure which one it was. It might have been Robert Ladani that you saw in this shot a little earlier, giving her encouragement. That's a big part of the coach's job. Right there you can see him in the corner. But again, really, that is part of the coach's job, isn't it? While the routine is going on, to obviously offer support and encouragement and keep the athletes up.
Right. I mean, you look for the coaches to see, like, to get feedback on how you're doing, and it's nice to see that they're proud of you, so you can, like, keep going with your routine and give it your best shot.
There's Alyssa Nocella, Caroline Ellenbow, who competed previously on the beam for BGSU, finished with a 9.775. As we take a look at our two judges as they watch intently. And you're watching Alyssa Nocella. Now we should mention, we're talking about the coaches and how they interact with the athletes during the meet. But one thing that the coaches cannot do is interact with the judges. They cannot talk to the judges during a meet.
No, if they do have something like a question for the judges, though, they can submit an inquiry in writing, and then...
Yeah, they have to do it in writing.
Yeah.
And then the meet stops while it's reviewed.
Right. And then they can go back and look at their routine and the judges' notes, and then they'll make adjustments if they think they need to.
A little unusual compared to some other sports, but nonetheless, it's a nice way at least to be able to voice your, well, not, you can't really voice your opinion, but it's a nice way to have your opinion at least read.
Yeah. Well, it's hard in gymnastics because there's no instant replay for the judges to watch. It's just a one-time shot. Nicole
Addison, she has followed Claire Hammond, and Hammond finishes with a 9.850 in her floor routine. So Hammond 9.850, and this is Nicole Addison. But you know, there actually is a review, right? At the end, they can go back and take a look. It's kind of a challenge, if you will, or the gymnastics equivalent to a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot to like go back and do that, but if they're really concerned about it, they can. But I mean, you can't do it in the middle of the meet because it just like stops the momentum.
Sure, so the video has to be reviewed at the end.
Yeah.
And you better be right. I mean, if it's football, all you do is lose a timeout if you're wrong, right?
Right. I think actually they get a penalty if they're wrong. Yeah.
0.3 of a point.
Which is a big.
Yeah, 0.3 of a point comes off your team score. Yeah. You better be right.
Right.
Again, Nicole Addison, you're watching. A sophomore from Fort Myers, Florida.
Some powerful tumbling passes.
Now, twice last year, she scored a 9.875 on the floor. And that's been her career best. So we'll see how that compares here today. Back to the beam. And here's Laura Mitchell. Laura Mitchell following Elisa Nocello. And Norcella. And Nocella finishes with a 9.750. So Alyssa, 9.750 on her beam. And now it's Laura's turn. She's from England. You know, it's interesting with these international athletes. Again, 3 on the BGSU squad. Laura Mitchell, as we mentioned, from London. And here's, I think, the kind of interesting part. If you wonder, well, how does a coach in Bowling Green find an athlete in London? Well, it can actually be very easy because Carrie Turner's husband, Adrian, he's a professor here on campus in physical education. He's from England. So the couple actually spends some time in England about twice a year. And while she was there, Coach Turner just happened to kind of scout and find Laura Mitchell and ended up recruiting her. All because of a family vacation.
Yeah. Small world.
Well, the same thing, actually. It was a very similar situation with Jordan Ray, who we talked about. She's from New Zealand. And again, in this case, Adrian Turner had to go to Australia for a conference, right? So it was business. Carrie goes along. She says, you stay in Australia. I'm going to move on to New Zealand. I'll see you in a little while. When she comes back from Australia, she ends up recruiting Jordan, who committed right away. So,
and they're both really talented gymnasts.
Look at that. What a beautiful dismount. A lot of spin.
Yeah.
A lot of spin. So a nice routine by Laura Mitchell. And that'll take us to our final competitor here on the floor exercise for Denver University, and it will be Nina McGee. Now, we talked about how Laura Mitchell and Nina McGee kind of anchor these two teams, and we'll see how Mitchell did on her on her beam. But McGee now trying to finish strong on the floor.
She had a really nice first pass with a double layout there. And earlier we were talking about their personalities coming on their floor routine. I think Nina's a really good example of that. You can see it in her dance.
Nina following Nicole Addison. Addison finishing with a 9.875. So 9.875 for Nicole Addison. And now we can also pass along a score for Laura Mitchell, who we were just talking about. The lady from London, 9.850.
It's a good score for the Falcons.
9.850 on the beam.
Nice anchor.
Very impressive performance here.
Yeah, she has a lot of power.
Look at her legs. You can see the strength in her legs. Strong, muscular.
They're like springs.
They are like springs. So Nina McGee finishes her routine here. And again, that will complete the actual competition. McGee, as good as she is, maybe you could say she's one that got away. She's from Cincinnati. She's right here in the state of Ohio. Finishing her senior year as well and doing a very nice job. Yeah, she won titles in the floor event and all around back on January 18th at their meet. She won a title on the floor event on January 9th. So in 2 previous meets this season for Denver, she's won titles on the floor. And she finishes, does Laura Mitchell. I'm sorry, that was Laura Mitchell. We wanted Nina McGee. There's Nina. And it's 9.925. 9.925 for Nina McGee on that routine on the floor.
Really strong score for Denver.
As again, we watch some exhibition. So 3 of our 4 rotations having been completed now. And we can take a look at some of those scores then. They can be added up, and we can tell you that for Denver University, having just completed the floor exercise, their total 49.250 for the Pioneers. 49.250 on the floor. And 48.675 on the beam for Bowling Green. 48.675. And there are your total team totals. 147, 145. Is it close?
Not really. I mean, right now Denver's like about 1.5 points ahead.
Right.
So PG's going to have some really solid routines on floor because they had to count a fall on bars and a few wobbles on their beam routine, so they didn't have probably as high scores as they were wanting. And Denver seems to be producing some really high scores on all the events.
Well, I would think there's a little added nervousness here today for the Falcons. Again, we talked about being in the Stroh Center for the first time, athletic history being made here, gaining exposure, obviously, for the program, moving into the bigger and larger facility where they normally compete over at the Anderson Arena here on campus. And, of course, the exposure with ESPN3 as well. But gymnastics, a growing sport. We talked about how really it's been a change in attitude with this team and this sport, I think, on this campus. Carrie Turner really making improvements year after year.
Yeah, I think they do like a lot more promoting now to try to get more people to come to the gymnastics meets and to come out and support them.
All right, so 3 events completed, and I should say 3 rotations completed and 1 to go. 2 more events still remain, and we'll be back with more action of NCAA women's gymnastics on ESPN3. 1 rotation remaining here at the Stroh Center this afternoon, and it's been a good meet so far between, of course, the Bowling Green State University Falcons, the host team, and Denver University, who has come in here ranked very high, a Big 12 team that's ranked 14th in the country, and a team with a lot of talent that really we've had a chance to see firsthand here today. So as we await the start of those final events, we can talk a little bit again about the situation here as far as the final scores that we have so far. Not the final scores, but the final event scores that we can show you. And there those are. Again, the bars being completed by both teams and the vault being completed by both teams. And as we were just mentioning, about a 1.5 point difference in the total score so far, which really can be a lot in gymnastics. But again, really, whether you win the meet or whether you lose the meet is not necessarily the main focus. It is the point total. Am I correct?
But what you're really looking for is like the team score. Like, yeah, win or loss, but you're wanting to build your team score so that you can count for your regional qualifying score. So they're going to want a high score so they can drop their lower team score from a previous meet so that they can try to qualify for regionals.
Well, we talked a little bit about regionals and how Denver University has actually been to regionals 17 straight times, 17 years in a row, a very impressive streak. And as far as the Falcons are concerned, well, that's still one of their goals. One of the goals that they need to accomplish is to get to the regionals. They've been very close the last couple of years. As a matter of fact, what they've done, and I found this very interesting, they've sort of stacked their schedule, if I can put it that way, so that they have a total of 13 meets this season from which they can compile scores to try to get a high enough score to get to regionals. And basically, if you wanted to pick a number, it probably would be the number of 195. If they could finish with about 195, a total point value for each meet, they would have a pretty good shot at getting to regionals.
Right. So the first couple meets, they're a little short of that and haven't reached 195 yet. So, I mean, they're working for it, and you want to just like keep building it as fast and as much as you can so that you can have the best chance of making it to regionals.
Now, at the same time, Denver University, again, 4 meets into the season, 195 plus for every meet. That's how good this team really is from the Big 12, and it's good for a team like BGSU to be able to compete against a squad so talented. Back with more action from women's gymnastics here at the Stroh Center right after this on ESPN 3. Our final rotation of the day as the Bowling Green State University Falcons, the host team, will be competing on the floor exercise, and Denver University, the visitor, will be competing on the beam. And a little bit of ground to be gained going into this final rotation, a little bit of ground to be gained by BGSU.
And floor is usually their strong event, so hoping for some high scores to finish the meet.
Well, interestingly enough, we do have one athlete from Bowling Green State, Alyssa Nocello, who is actually tied for 10th place in the MAC in the floor competition. So we'll expect to see a strong performance from her. But we start with Caitlin Shu.
A little wobble there on the back handspring, back layout.
Again, it's interesting that we see some athletes competing in obviously more than one event, which is very common. But how is that decided? How does an athlete or a coach determine which events that athlete competes in?
It kind of depends on each athlete, because some athletes might only do a couple events due to an injury, or if some people just aren't like as talented as other gymnasts on certain events, so the coach will decide to have them train another event that they're stronger at so that they can get even stronger and kind of specialize on that event.
And a nice dismount there by Caitlin Shu. As we see it again. Good twist.
And stuck landing.
Solid landing. And she's only been doing the beam since the beginning of January. She's a freshman, so her career just starting. Rachel Cray. Have not seen her yet today, so she's making her first appearance on the floor. First appearance in the meet on the floor.
That's a good first pass for her.
I would think that first pass is most important in determining just confidence, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's a good way to, like, a good first pass is always important to start off their routine because it's the first thing that the judges see. And then the last pass is important too because it's the last thing that the judges see. So you want to start them with a good impression and finish with a good impression.
Rachel Cray, also a freshman. She comes from Michigan, from Clinton Township. So I would think that this is one of the, probably one of the athletes that BGSU would be counting on to help pick up some of that slack caused by the injuries and loss of the two athletes that we mentioned earlier.
I know last week she had to fill in a spot for the vault lineup because she's not normally in that. But it's always important to have backup because you never know when those injuries are going to happen.
So Rachel Cray finishes her routine on a high note. And this is how it all ended.
And that was a clean routine, so hopefully a good score to start the Falcons off on floor.
Back to the beam. And Claire Hammond. Caitlin Shu, a 9.700 for the first score on the beam for Denver University.
So That was a solid triple series there. She had 3 flips in a row. She's looking really confident there on her B routine. So far, not any wobbles.
Good concentration here. She gets ready for dismount.
Just a step there on the dismount, but probably a high score for her.
So we'll watch it again. And we'll await her final score. We do have a final score for Rachel Cray, 9.650 for the freshman on the floor. And now she's being followed by Kayla Rose.
Got some fun choreography here
to
show her personality.
Yeah, very upbeat.
Yeah.
Kayla, a freshman from Hamilton, Ohio. Majoring in dietetics here at BGSU.
Solid finish, so hopefully they can pick up the floor score there.
So Kayla Rose, as we'll once again watch the end of her routine with her coach in the background, Marie Case. On the beam for Denver University. This should be Diana Chesnock, I believe. Katie Mahenik was the last gymnast, and she actually finished with a 9.725. So our apologies as we misidentified her, but Mahenik finishing with that 9.725. And we believe this is Chesnock.
She has a stronger team going so far. The front aerial.
Obviously, if you perform on the beam, you cannot have a fear of height.
No. You have to be really confident, but
yeah,
a lot of these girls probably grew up on a balance beam, and they're probably more comfortable walking on a balance beam than they are on the floor.
As Chesnock finishes with a strong dismount. I think you make an interesting point, because gymnastics is really one of those sports, really like so many, that people start at a very young age. And I think it's a little bit different with this sport. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but the younger you are, the less fear you have. And literally, there are some things that you're doing with your body in the sport of gymnastics that can be a little frightening.
Yeah, I think if you stop and think about it, a lot of it's pretty scary. But if you grow up with it, you're just kind of used to that environment of throwing your body in the air. that it kind of doesn't really scare you anymore.
Victoria Heath throwing her body in there very nicely, very beautifully, very smoothly.
I think she's been a really good competitor for the Falcons. Her freshman year was like a little bit of a rough start, but she's had a really good sophomore and junior season so far. And I think she's gotten a lot more confident as she's competing more.
Floor exercise score of 9.850, the best of her career. And it came last week in that meet against the University of Alaska Anchorage. So you're talking about that confidence, and you could see it growing.
Yep, and she had another good routine today, so hopefully another high score for her.
Julia Ross will be next on the beam as Diana Chestnut, the last performer for Denver University, finished with a 9.800. So Chestnut 9.800, and here's Julia Ross. And we'll await the final score for Victoria Heath, which again should be very good, we would think. Julia Ross winning a title on the beam in the meet held on January the 18th at Iowa.
Yeah, you can tell she just looks really confident up there.
Last year, she scored a 9.925 on the beam. Obviously her career high so far. It's last March, and it happened in a meet at home in Denver. We might get another look at that, and I just happen to notice her foot on the beam. Well, okay. Her foot on the beam didn't
look
actually.
A little sideways?
Yes, exactly.
I
exactly.
thought so too. But she managed to pull a good dismount out of it, so she made it work.
So Julia Ross completes her beam, and we will move to Lauren Feely now. On the floor for BGSU, Victoria Heath, the last floor competitor, finishing with a 9.85. We thought it would be a good score, and it certainly was. 9.85 for Victoria Heath.
Lauren's also a really consistent performer on the floor and the all-around. She's a really powerful gymnast.
We talked, of course, about Lauren being a 4.0 student academically, and that is something really that a lot of emphasis is put on, academics, in this gymnastics program. I think, again, if you go back at the beginning of our show, Michael may have mentioned that there were like 25 scholarship students, or not scholarship students necessarily, but 25 students under Coach Kerry Turner who had made academic accomplishments, standouts academically, and again, a lot of emphasis put on that. They work hard in the gym, but they definitely, obviously, work hard in the classroom as well.
Yeah, something that Bowling Green athletes stress is that we're student athletes, so that you're students first and then you're athletes, because you're only here for 4 or 5 years maybe, and then after that you enter the real world, and your grades is what's most important.
I want to get back to that point in a minute. I think it's a good one. As Laura Feely, you saw her finish the floor, and now it is Nina McGee following Julia Ross. Ross finishing with a 9.825. 9.825 for Ross on the beam. But you were talking about preparing the athletes for the real world. And I found that very fascinating in talking to Coach Turner, because she does a lot of one-on-one with her athletes. We talked about the international students. She'll do a lot of one-on-one meetings with them to help them just make the transition smoother and to learn about life and what it's like in terms of having to prepare yourself to leave college and go to that next phase of life, that real world that we talk about so much. But it just intrigued me, and I admired the fact that those one-on-one meetings took place and that so much attention was paid to life and teaching life skills as much as teaching gymnastics skills.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to develop those skills because, like, these coaches, they only get the athletes for 4 years, and then after that, like, they're like the last kind of impression that they can make on these people's lives. So, they want to teach them as much as they can about gymnastics and, like, real world things so that they can have a successful future.
Nina McGee from Cincinnati with the big finish off of the vault, or excuse me, off of the beam. And now Laura Mitchell on the floor. Nina McGee, an interesting story in that she has 6 sisters, and I can only wonder how many of those are involved in gymnastics. It might be a family sport. You'd have to wonder. 6 girls in one house? I want to know how many bathrooms they have.
Laura has a strong routine going so far. She had a nice first pass, getting ready for the second one. A good finish there.
Her career best on the floor is 9.575. That was last season at Michigan State.
If she keeps up the routine she has right now, she's going to probably be looking to beat that.
Well, I stand corrected. She actually did beat that last week against Anchorage. 9.825 when she finished second. So we'll see how this routine compares to a week ago. Nina McGee, one of 7 girls in the family, as we were talking about, finishing with a 9.850 for Denver on the beam. And there's the finish again by Laura Mitchell for BGSU. So Emily Barrett will be the last competitor for Denver University.
A little wobble there on the handspring layout.
See the ankle being taped there? I would imagine that that's very common.
Yeah, the mats, they might look squishy, but they don't really feel that way.
But it's actually for support on the mat, more so than...
I mean, it's support for your ankles, but the mats sometimes, like landing on the vault or the floor and so much impact, it's just a little extra support for their ankles.
Okay.
So a couple wobbles, but she had a really strong finish on the dismount.
So Emily Barrett concludes the competition for Denver on the beam. And our final competitor will be Alyssa Norcella for BGSU on the floor. Laura Mitchell, who preceded her, scored a 9.825. 9.825 for Laura Mitchell on her floor routine. And now here's Alyssa Norcella. Rather dramatic music.
She's a pretty powerful tumbler, so the dramatic music kind of matches that.
Her style.
Yeah.
And the final score now being posted for Emily Barrett. On the beam for Denver, 9.775. 9.775 for Barrett.
We're just looking for one more clean pass for Alyssa. She's got a strong routine going so far. And a little short on the landing.
It's a beautiful move, though. So Alyssa Norcella finishes her floor routine in style here. Again, just that little misstep, I guess. But nonetheless, overall pretty well done. We'll wait for her score then, as we have another exhibition taking place here for Denver University. And now we will start the tallying of the scores. We're talking about 195 sort of being the mark for a team score that BGSU would like to accomplish here. And we had talked about how 195 was the score that had been obtained by Denver University in all 4 of its meets prior to this afternoon.
Yeah, really what the teams are looking for here is consistency. So they're going to want to translate from like how they do in practice to how they would do in a meet.
Alyssa Norcella, the final competitor on the floor exercise, 9.675. 9.675 for Norcella. So that means we can give you some totals then as far as the final events, or at least the events in the final rotation, perhaps I should say. And for Bowling Green State University, that of course is the floor exercise. 48.900. 48.9 the score on the floor exercise for Bowling Green State. And then for Denver on the beam, 48.975. 48.975 for Denver on the balance beam. And we'll have an exhibition here for BGSU on the floor exercise. Now these, of course, are not part of the scoring, as you indicated earlier. It's just a way to really give athletes a little practice and maybe the feel for a meet.
Right, so these can be people that are coming back from an injury, or they could be people that are like just starting to train the event, who want to get practice competing. Or sometimes they're just like backup routines, so just in case that somebody else gets hurt, or if somebody has a bad warm-up or is just not ready that day, then they warm up and they can perform for them.
It's an interesting aspect in terms of perhaps somebody not being ready. Not necessarily injury, but maybe just not being ready to perform on a given day of the meet.
Yeah, they might. I mean, it all depends on how their practices have been going for like the week leading up to the meet. So if they might just have like a few off practices and they might not feel confident to compete. So if they're not feeling confident, or if the coach isn't confident that they're going to produce a good score, then they won't have them compete, and they might have the exhibition compete.
everybody's entitled to an off day, right?
Yeah.
So again, the score is being tallied. Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about the marital connection between Coach Turner and her husband and how that helped lead to the recruiting of international athletes. If you're wondering how Denver and BGSU got together for this meet, kind of a marital connection. As it turns out, Melissa Kuchar-Reinhardt, the coach for Denver, her husband, Todd, he's a graduate. He's an alumni of BGSU.
That's cool. I didn't know.
So there are your final scores. And again, 196.125, the final team score for Denver. For Bowling Green, 194.525. Denver continues its trend of scoring at least 195 points in each meet so far this season. And for Bowling Green, so close to that goal of 195, 194.5. But they still have to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, that's their highest score that they've gotten all season, and if they keep making improvements, they should be there soon.
So the numbers are in, and we will be back with a little bit more, and we'll wrap it up from the Stroh Center with NCAA Women's Gymnastics right after this on ESPN3. The first women's gymnastics meet ever held at the Stroh Center on the campus of Bowling Green State University. And there is your final score, 196.125 for Denver University, 194.525 for Bowling Green State. And to get a little reaction to those numbers, let's go to our sideline reporter, Michael Webster. Michael?
Hi, I'm here with Coach Jason Bauer. Coach, can you talk a little bit about your team's performance on the vault thing, specifically related to the twists and the landings? What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. We came out hard today. We had some girls doing some new vaults. You know, we had some injuries on our team, so we asked some people to step up, and they really did. So our first three girls out of the gate landed their vaults. We were very happy with it. Gave ourselves a real good start for the meet, and we just had great momentum after vault. We're really, real happy with how they did.
Thanks. Back to you guys.
All right, Michael, thanks very much. And again, a good showing here today by both teams. I think both teams probably very pleased with what they saw and what happened here. But a situation, of course, where Denver, from the Big 12 and ranked 14th in the country, comes out on top. And really, again, a team, I think, that showed us a lot of individual talent. And we go back and we look at some of the scores from some of those events that we saw this afternoon. And really, I think we kind of got what we expected. And what I mean by that is we got strong performances by Nina McGee. And she was the one gymnast that we were really kind of focused on from the beginning because of what she had done so far this season. But a 9.85 she recorded as a score in the first event of the day. That was on the bars, and she maintained a very high score throughout the afternoon. As far as the floor exercise, almost perfect, 9.925. So Nina McGee kind of leading the way here as we go back and get a chance to relive some of the moments from this particular meet, as we can look at those and really get an idea, I think, again, of how well really both of these teams did. I think the athletes on both sides with some very strong performances. And we're looking here, of course, at various events, both teams alternating events throughout the course of the afternoon. And the bars here for for Denver University. And again, they had Nina McGee a 9.9 on the bars here this afternoon. So those strong scores really very evident. So I think when we actually have a chance to break it down and to get a little reaction from both the athletes and the coaches, I think in general we're going to find that it was probably a very good feeling for everyone involved here. But we're being joined by the head coach of Denver University, Melissa Kuchar-Reinhardt. Nice to see you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Thank you. Let me start by getting your reaction to what you saw. Our feeling is that both sides really performed very well here today, and I don't know if that would be your feeling or not.
I do feel like that, and credit to Bowling Green. They did a great job tonight. They run a fantastic competition. We were thrilled to be in this wonderful arena and really pleased with that.
Now, I understand. We had just mentioned this. But I understand that the reason that you guys are here is because of your husband, am I right?
My husband is an alum, and actually most of my extended family is alum.
Is that right?
So we're very proud of that and very happy to be here.
Well, we were talking in particular about Nina McGee, who really is kind of the leader, I think it's fair to say, for your squad. And again, some excellent performances, including a 9.9 on the floor. I mean, this is pretty much typical for her, I would think.
You know, Nina's a tremendous student athlete, and she really is consistent and confident and delivers week after week. But I really say that this is a total team effort. We are without some of our athletes. And
right.
So we were substituting different people in different lineup positions, and I can't be any more proud of how they hit consistently 4 events.
Again, we had talked about that, where you have 2 athletes who are out for the season, and Maggie Laughlin, who you're expecting back.
Yes.
But talk about that a little bit, and what is it like for your athletes in terms of trying to have to overcome those setbacks and pick up some of that slack?
Well, we really talk about it, and we try to make it more action and not just words, but our philosophy really is to build a championship tradition based on a foundation of teamwork, character, and excellence. And really what I saw tonight was that teamwork and was that character. They're stepping up even when we have to substitute someone in the lineup. They're showing that kind of mental toughness and physical toughness. So yeah, we just need to take 1 meet at a time and continue to improve.
I wanted to talk about that a little bit because you alluded to that championship tradition, and that has been established, obviously. 17 consecutive appearances at the NCAA Regionals, and you've been with the club for 17 years, so each one of those trips is because of your efforts. And then on top of that, of course, the 3 appearances at the Nationals, the NCAA Nationals. I haven't had a chance to ask you until now, but I want to know, how does a school, even though it's a small private school, and I understand that, but how does a school without a football team make gymnastics really its #1 sport?
Well, I would love to say we're the #1 sport, but I think hockey dominates our school.
All right.
But
a close second then.
Yeah, I would hope. But what I would say is, many people don't know about the University of Denver. We're the #1 athletic department in the country without football. We have tremendous leadership in Craig Bagley-Doppis. We have a tremendous chancellor. So we're really fortunate and blessed that we're all given the opportunity to compete at a national level.
All right. But I want to know about you, and I want to know how you've done it.
Well, I was laughing when you said, my trips. Of course, I'm happy and thrilled to be a part of it, but it's really the successful student athletes. It has nothing to do with me, and I'm really fortunate to be surrounded by assistant coaches and people that are absolutely phenomenal. So
we'll accept that, Coach, but we're also going to give you a little credit.
Thank you.
Okay?
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Melissa Kutcher-Reinhardt.
Perfect.
Congratulations on your win here this afternoon, and
Thank
thanks
you
for joining
having
us.
me.
We'll be back to wrap it up for you right here with more from the Stroh Center as we continue with our coverage of women's gymnastics, and we'll be back on ESPN3. And back at the Stroh Center on the campus of Bowling Green State University as we've just concluded the first gymnastics meet ever held at the Stroh Center. And now we're joined by head coach Carrie Turner from the BGSU Falcons. I'm going to say congratulations. I thought it was a great showing of 194.5.
Yes, we continue to improve every week, and I'm so pleased that our scores have just gone up week after week. We would like to take a little bit of a bigger jump, but if we can keep doing these incremental jumps, we'll be where we need to be.
Well, I think that's what it's all about, just a little bit of progress at a time, right? I thought the floor scores were very impressive. Again, 3 9.8s in there.
Yeah, and that's an event where, we talked about that we'd had some injuries early in the year, and that is an event that was highly affected by those injuries, and to see the athletes really step up, I mean, that really shows the heart of this team.
How did it feel to be in the Stroh?
It was amazing. Our fans were great. We had a lot of people here. The venue is just gorgeous. The team, they were just so excited, and I'm so glad it was a really well-run meet and just an exciting competition.
Well, again, congratulations on a great performance.
Thank you.
Any one performance stick out in your mind?
I really am impressed with uneven bars that we had 2 falls, and then the back of the lineup just said, okay, we're going to get it back on track, and that was really up to Rachel Rice today, and she just was on point and said, okay, I'm not going to let this affect me, and boom, there we went, and they kind of saved the meet on that event, so I was really proud of the girls there.
A great sign indeed.
Yes,
well, Coach Carrie Turner, thank you again for your time. Congratulations on a nice performance.
Thank you.
All right. So again, our final score, 196.125 for Denver University, 194.525 for Bowling Green State University. We certainly hope you've enjoyed the broadcast, and we thank you for being with us. And of course, we'd like to remind you that this presentation can actually be seen online if you so choose. You can go back and watch it in its entirety. And to do so, all you have to do is just simply go to watchespn.com and download, I should say, the Watch ESPN app. So either way, you can relive all the great moments that we saw here this afternoon in this meet between Denver University and the Bowling Green State University Falcons. Thanks again for being with us. This has been a presentation of ESPN.